Okay, so at this point, we're now going to understand that, okay, we are now within the actual requirements of being VAT vendors because we've satisfied the VAT definition so far as that whole definition that comprises of your supply, goods, services, consideration. We went into all of that. So we've basically satisfied that definition, and we've also satisfied the enterprise definition as well, that we also went into more detail as well. So once we basically got into that niche that now states to say to us that we've now satisfied all these preconditions so far as having to be VAT vendors, so we now need to basically ask ourselves as to what kinds of VAT vendors would we likely be. So that brings us to the next part of this lesson basically, because so far as one being a VAT vendor, you'd likely fall into one of the 5 categories that range from category A right down to category E as well. So it basically depends on the actual turnover that you'll likely be generating in any 12-month cycle. And of course, that turnover would be compared to particular turnover thresholds that would obviously deem a particular VAT vendor to fall within a particular range or a particular category. And of course, when you're making those comparisons as well, just also keep in mind once again that the turnover value that we're making comparisons to would always have to be an exclusive of a VAT value as well. Just as we spoke about those thresholds so far as being a voluntary VAT vendor on a voluntary basis, or as far as you having to be a compulsory VAT vendor so far as the 1 million rands turnover as well. So just keep that in the back of your mind, and having to always recall that you'd always be required to make those comparisons exclusive of VAT values. So that's basically where we are, and the next part of the lesson will be dealing with that basically. However, knowing that you've now been able to certify like the conditions of you having to be a VAT vendor, you also have to be very mindful and very cautious as to when transactions would obviously take place so far as the timing of those transactions are concerned, in terms of the concept of whether it be the area of receipt, the area of invoicing, or actual payment. So far as you've even now gotten into the notion of taking that into consideration, there would obviously be the timing issue so far as when the actual VAT transaction took place. So it would be good exam technique as well to always remember to basically dot down that date, because it is a very important principle so far as where we are headed, and it's always going to be a requirement for you to actually demonstrate to the actual examiner or to actual professionals that you basically know what you're talking about. So it's always a good recommendation for you to actually just dot down the actual timing of that particular transaction that obviously attracted VAT. And there would also be the process of the VAT admin process as to how you become a VAT vendor, so far as having satisfy all those preconditions that we've spoken about. So you'd obviously have to go through to SARS in person, fill out the VAT 101 form, which you have to fill out with all those particular details that are required from you. And upon having filled that out, you have to submit it back to SARS in person, hand it over to a SARS official or a SARS officer. And after having made that submission of a VAT 101 form, you then get a VAT 103 registration certificate from SARS that basically deems you to now be a recognized vet vendor as per SARS standards and SARS requirements. And from that particular date onwards, you can then start trading as a vet vendor. As a result, all the transactions that would obviously be attracting vet would have to be inclusive of vet, implications, be it an output vet or an input vet, whatever the situation. That would be a recognition after having gotten the actual registration. And of course, you'd make your submissions in the future so far as your VAT returns as well. So that would be answered in the next part of the lesson so far as the whiteboard. And that's basically where we are. And we'll basically extrapolate a bit more on it, like, in the coming session. All right, then.